Well, crap. All right, I did this once before. It stopped recording halfway through. We're going to try it again. This video is going to probably come out late, but it is what it is. So, God damn it. God damn it, not today of all days. I'm Taylor. This is a Cranky Comic Book Review Show. It's December 7th, 2022. Thank God this year is almost over. And this is the worst to best list of nonsense. And here we go. Worst, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, issue number 1. This is not an awful book. It's just not great. And it doesn't know who the audience is. Like, it's very confused. Or it looks like it's trying to be a kid's book. But the tone is like it's trying to be sort of an adult book. But then it has kid-like things. It just doesn't work. It's a clunky kind of mess. The art, actually, you're never lost for what's going on in it. But it's just like a weirdly cartoony. It doesn't really fit things. And that's sort of the way with the story. You're never confused with what's going on in the story. There's not much of a story. And it's just, I don't know, it's not very interesting. I don't think it would hold a kid's interest. And it's definitely not holding an adult's interest. So, like, I don't know who this is for or why it exists in this form. Like, I'm thinking if you're going to make a book that adults like these characters, you have to make it kind of snarky and sarcastic and kind of over the top. If you're going to make it for kids, you have to make it kind of, for kids. And this isn't. So, like, it's just, I don't know what this is. It's not great. I wouldn't normally pick this up. I'm not reading any other Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur stuff, but I'm a sucker for issue number 1, so I'm going to give it a whirl. And I shouldn't have. So let my downfall be your winning or something. It doesn't matter. All right. Next, I talked about this crap before, but it only recorded part of it. So Thanos Death Note's number 1. And god damn it, look at this. Here's my rant of the day. My LCS. I exchanged this book in because the last one, other copy was damaged. And this one's just as beat to shit. And fuck you, Graham Cracker Comics. Seriously, you were irritating the shit out of me. Because, like, I put the other one back on the shelf and I told you I was going to do it and you didn't care. And you should have said, no, it's damaged, I'm going to send it back. And you should have said, hey, maybe I'll look and see what else is damaged on that stack. And I saw you, I put this one back out and it's fucking damaged. So, god damn it, you're a garbage thing. I need to find a new LCS, but they're right across. They're there. If you know where I live, they're across, like, the street. I'm that lazy, and so that's my downfall. Either I go to this shit or I have to drive a half hour and I time after work and it's Wednesday. I get up, I go to work at 7 in the goddamn morning, and then I come back home, I read all these and I record these by 8:30 at night on Wednesday is my attempt. Not going to happen today. Anyways, enough of that rant. Thanos Death Note number 1 is a stupid fucking book and it maybe should be the worst. It's anthology that on this they're supposed to tell some backstory of Thanos, which we already have all this goddamn backstory. It retcons some stuff to make him less interesting. It sets up, it has one story that's like, oh my god, why Tony Stark should be afraid of him. And it's got some J. Michael Straczynski mess in the middle. That's the big, I think that's the big retconning one where it's like, oh no, death wasn't his first love. So they have another first love in here. And then ostensibly, it sets up what's going on in here. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Sorry. Here, I'll hold it for more than a second. It ostensibly sets up what's going on in Thor. But you do not need this book. This is not worth it. What's the cover price on this mess, too? $5 cover price. This is just marveling. It's got uneven art, uneven writing, and you're not going to learn anything that makes Thanos more interesting. And if anything, it's going to be kind of like the book of Boba Fett, and it's going to make him a little more dull for you, or a lot more dull, depending. So, I don't know, fucking skip it. And fuck you, Graham Cracker Comics. Did I mention that? All right, next. We have Thor number 29. Okay, this is, I think, the new writer in Thor, or possibly a fill-in writer, but it's looking like the new writer of Thor. Torunn Grønbekk, who wrote the last miniseries, The Mighty Thor, Jane Foster and The Mighty Thor, whatever. Bored the shit out of me, and this is no different. It's Nick Klein in the art, and I love Nick Klein's art. I think he's, like, took some time off and, like, had some filler artists and whatever, and, like, now is back. And I really do like his art on this book. Look, it's not the Stan Lee one, but over here, look, it's an effective Thor. He can draw a solid Thor. He tries these he's good at these big bombastic scenes as well. And yeah, he's great. The problem is, okay, first of all, that book I chucked over my shoulder, that one you're supposed to have to read first, according to fucking Girl Devil Comics, it's explained here in a footnote. Also, you don't need anything in that other goddamn book. And then you're supposed to give a shit what's in here. And there's like these characters that are just sort of introduced, and you're supposed to be like, oh my god, we care about this mystery. There's no emotional reason to give a shit about this mystery. And then, especially the way this writing is it is just interminably boring. It hits all the notes you're supposed to in a comic book. Like it has the beginning, the middle, the cliffhanger ending on the monthly, but like none of it's interesting. Like none of it, and none of it even feels groundbreaking. It feels like you're adding characters just for the sake of adding characters, and it's like, okay, that's not a compelling way to tell a story. You want to put the character through the ringer. You want to have some emotional resonance. You have to have the main character be in peril or go through something life changing, or have something that would affect the main character in some way or form to change them. The hero's journey, not in here. This is just the hero napping through a fucking book. All right, next. We have Fantastic Four #2, The Invisible Woman. I like this cover. I think it's Alex Ross. And it's Ryan North on the writing and Ivan Coelho on the art. The art is fine. It's a solid art. And it's actually not even an awful story. Look, there's some cool... You get a skull, people. And that's not too spoilery. And here's the thing. The problem is this is a really weird way to start the Fantastic Four series. It feels very, 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 very similar to the first issue. like it's sort of like you're telling the same story twice. It's not. It's different characters. This is Reed Richards and Sue Storm, but it really feels like it's the same damn story as the first issue, and it's not. Also, that the story's different, but it just feels the same. If you've read issue #1, I think, and you read this, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, I don't know. I don't want to spoil it for you because your mileage may vary. You might actually like it, and I don't hate it. It's just such a bizarre way to start this Fantastic Four series. Like it's sort of like the new Spider-Man, where like something happened in Spider-Man's past that you don't learn about because they haven't gotten into it, and then you're supposed to give a shit what's going on in Spider-Man 6 months later. It's the same sort of thing here. Something happened with Reed Richards that we don't know about, or maybe we did in the last series, but there's nothing really explaining it. And so that's that in the background, but it doesn't really play into the main story. We're 2 issues in, and you have no idea what the hell happened. And yeah, it's an entertaining enough one and done in here, and I might get the next issue, maybe, just to see if it keeps up. Like I really want to like Fantastic Four, and I don't hate this, but it's just so strange. It's I don't know. Let me know if you've read it. Honestly, leave me a comment down below. Not another one. It's just bizarre to me. Poison Ivy, #7. I thought the series was done. I sort of got it was a miniseries. Apparently not. This is G. Willow Wilson with Ilhan as a guest artist. So guest artist implies that a regular artist. So I guess yeah, we're still going. And I thought the story wrapped up at the end of the last issue, and I thought it was done. But either they decided to expand it and I haven't paid attention, or whatever. So I bought this because I thought it was an epilogue. I was like, oh, maybe it really will wrap up the series. And that's not this. This is starting a whole new arc. And it's an arc that I don't think is going to tread a whole lot of new ground for the Poison Ivy character. I thought the miniseries, okay, it's not a miniseries. I thought the first 6 issues of this were fine. They were totally a little weird because they didn't really stray too far into the realm of horror, and they didn't really stray too far into the realm of superhero. They kind of tried to balance it, and G. Willow Wilson can tell a good monthly tale and told an interesting enough story. It's just the tone was just bizarre, and that's the same thing in this one. It's still a bizarre tone, and I just don't give a shit about the character enough to keep going. Like I tried, but the character of Poison Ivy just doesn't interest me enough, and there's nothing really that compelling with what G. Willow Wilson's been doing to really make me keep going. So I'm done with it. All right, next we have Nocterra, the Val special. Not even Val's special, just Val special. One shot. Scott Snyder, Tony Daniel. This is a one-shot set in the Nocterra universe. If you've not read Nocterra, don't get this book. You're going to be very confused. If you have read this book, you might still be confused because it's been so damn long since all this stuff has come out. You're like, I get the gist of it. Like, here's my problem. I don't remember who Val is. I think I maybe know. And I think she's the main character, if I remember right, of the main series, which feels odd that she has her own one-shot special now and then, like, things have changed. But, I mean, yeah. But maybe she's not the main character. Maybe I'm just reading this wrong or misremembering. And there's been so much time in between these issues that, like, okay, it could be either. But that said, it's an entertaining one and done. It's got some framing stuff that, like, fairly Scott Snyder-ish, and it's got some Scott Snyder-isms with, like, the character who's not what they seem, but not that bad and not that great, and yeah. And then you get the story that's like, okay, it wraps up fairly well, but it sort of sets up some stuff, but it's not going to change the world. Like, if you dig Nocterra, reread it or whatever, or get it collected and then get this, but don't get this on its own. It's not going to do you any good. It's all right. It's a decent enough one. All right, next. We have Miles Morales Spider-Man #1. See, I'm a sucker for first issues. I mentioned that in the bottom of the Moon Girl Dinosaur stack. This is Corey Ziegler and Vicentini on the art. Federico Vicentini. Federico's art reminds me a lot of Matteo Scalera. Like, really kind of dynamic, angular figures, like askew action, and just kind of pointy, angular faces, and the like. The story itself, and I really dig the art, by the way. And for a first issue, this is not horrible. It sort of like gives you a decent enough introduction to Miles Morales without doing a full origin. It lets you know the relationship he has with his family. It lets you know a bit why he's the same as Peter Parker and a little bit why he's different. And yeah, it's a solid enough #1. What it doesn't do is add a lot of new shit or anything really new to this thing. It feels like, you could just pick this up and be like, okay, that's a good #1. And if you've never read Miles before, you wouldn't be lost, but you're also like, okay, well, I don't know what the necessary intrigue is. And then it's just the ending and the reveal at the end. It's like, okay, that's not that crazy interesting either. I might give it one more issue. I really do like the art on this, and yeah, what they did with the character of Miles in here doesn't feel too awful or too out of reach or too off point or off brand. So, like, we'll see what happens. Your mileage may vary on it. I heard the last run was pretty well received, and this is a different writer, so maybe you're going to hate this. But I'm coming in blindish on this one. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I think the art elevated it, and I think it was decent. So next we have Daredevil, Swear Devil #6. This is Chip Zdarsky and De La Torre. I thought it was Marco Cicchetto, but no, it's still the guest artist, or maybe the new artist Rafael De La Torre. Daredevil and Elektra are they're in the fist, and they're going to fight the hand, because that's what you do if you're secret ninja societies. If you've ever read any Daredevil in the past, he's got a thing with the hand. Anyways, this is a slow, kind of still setup part to this new run of Daredevil. It's 6 issues in, and it's just kind of been a slow burn. It's not awful. I mean, I still like it. I still like the way Zdarsky writes Daredevil, but something's got to happen. And, like, something's starting to happen here. Like, he's got these ideas that he's building up, and like, he's got these things that Daredevil's sort of starting to do, like dominoes. But it's like, you're building a house of dominoes, and at some point they have to knock them over, or you have to do something with the story. And at the end, like in the last pages, it feels like it's setting stuff up to, like, actually do something. And that's good, because I think when it gets to where this is heading, it can be real fun and interesting, but it's still getting there. The issue I have with this issue on comic book issues is and this Daredevil run to date is, like, it should not have been a refresh. That should have just been continuing, but that's Marvel for you. And then there's this bad guy person sort of in the background that's being set up as a mysterious figure. And, like, the problem is the setup's not really there. But the characters are acting like this has been well established and well set up, and you're like, what the fuck? None of that's really been established. Or it was established off camera or off panel, and that's not an interesting way to tell a story. So if you've been reading it, you probably know who I'm talking about, but if not, I don't want to spoil that for you either. So it's decent. It's Daredevil. It's still good, mostly. And then we have Behold, Behemoth #2, Tate Bromble and Nick Robles. End of the world story with these two travelers with a deep, dark secret going from town to town. It's fairly tropey. The art is solid, and you're not sure what the secret is yet. So, I mean, you have a good idea-ish what the secret might be, but it still hasn't been fully revealed, and I'm hoping the reveal is more interesting than maybe it's where it's leaning. It's interesting enough to keep me going for at least one more, and that's kind of where I'm at on this. I'm a little burned out on the post-apocalyptic books. There's so many of them out there, and there's so many, like, end-of-the-world kind of stories out here. But this one's got just enough going to keep me going. It's got the combo of the art, it's combo of the story, and the combo of, like, the characters that I don't hate. So you get that all three together, and it's not amazing, because we're not in an amazing section here, but, like, it's decent enough. And, like, you're not sure which character has a secret or if they both do. It kind of like could go either way on this, and so that's the part that's at least intriguing. We'll see. I'm hoping the secret is the big reveal is makes it worthwhile, because if not, this is going to take a giant turd. But for now, I think it's fairly interesting, and the art again is strong enough that it carries it for me thus far, and the story's not awful. So we'll hold Behemoth number 2, and then we have Batman 130, the fail-safe part 400. I don't know, it feels like it's been going on for a while. I think it's actually part 6 of fail-safe, part 7, or part 5, whatever. Fail-safe is this robot Batman invented to beat Batman, or to beat everybody else. He's been activated because, of course, and then now he's beating everybody else. And so this is just still that. It has one of the most ridiculous opening sequences in a Batman book I've ever read, in a fun, entertaining way. It's like, well, that would never work, but okay, it's cheesy and fun. And then it's got some Superman in here, and it's got some, bombastic fighting. It's not awful. It's not fantastic, but it's got some, it shows a Batman with a little bit of heart and a little bit of soul to him, and, a little bit of respect for some side characters that was not always present in some of the earlier runs of Batman, Tiny Onions run. So that's it. I think this is that part's wrapping up next month. God, I hope so. And then we have the finale here of the backup story. I actually like that a bit better. With Zur-En-Arrh, the Batman that can do what Batman can't, the other psyche person in his head. Still written by Chip Zdarsky, art by Leonardo Romero. And it's not much to it, but it's just got this element that shows that Batman might be batshit nuts, and I'm down for it. So it's kind of I get that's been done before. Who's the real madman? Is it Batman, or he's the most sane? And it's not groundbreaking, but it's fun. The end story's fun. All right, next we got a couple left here. This is going to be probably quicker than my first time through, but what the hell? I'm running real late, people. We have Little Monsters, Book 8. This book has finally gotten interesting. It started last issue, and I almost dropped it. I really did, because the first 6 were boring as fuck. And this is Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nia. Little vampires at the end of the world, post-apocalyptic, where they thought they were waiting for their vampire masters or their creators to come back, and so far they have not. They didn't realize there were any humans out until the human shows up. And that's the setup for this book. It's kind of, and it's a power struggle amongst kids with vampire abilities, and it's been a slow burn this far, and this is still a bit of a slow burn issue, but you get the backstory, kind of the backstory of one of the characters in here, and it's pretty interesting, and then you get enough plot progression and actual development in here, and actual little kids being little shitheads to each other, that makes it kind of interesting, and so I'm finally down for this. I do love Dustin Ian's art. I think his art is great. He's got that black and white sense of, and is really good at drawing kids' faces and stuff, and great at drawing these little monsters, little monsters, which is what they are. But his art is helping this one, and I like Jeff Lemire's stuff. It's just it really did not grab me at first, and it took a while. It's starting to now. It does feel like a Jeff Lemire book. He's got some of these tropes he plays with. If you ever read Sweet Tooth, anything like that, it's like, oh, characters at the end of the world. Or the Descender. Oh, robot at the end of the world. Or, no, it's little vampires at the end of the world. He's got a lot of that kind of stuff he plays with, and we'll see how it turns out. I'm hoping it has a finite ending. Knowing Lemire, it will. But it's getting better. All right, next, we have Know Your Station, which is about a space station and knowing your place in it. It's a double meaning, people, so it's fucking clever. It's written by Sarah Gailey, art by Liana Kangas, and coloring by Rebecca Nolte. Yeah, colored by. It's a space station. It's full of the world's elite and super powerful and super inventive and humanity's finest, right? And then there's these people who work for humanity's finest, and this is about a worker for humanity's finest and a detective from Earth, Earth's side, where things have gone because something on the spaceship's gone wrong and somebody's gotten killed. You're going to learn that in Solicit. That's not anything new. It's just told in an interesting manner that keeps me going. I like the protagonist or the anti-hero. She's pretty interesting. I don't know if she even has a name in here, but she does. But she's interesting enough. It's got this sort of space crime noir element that I kind of dig, and it's got this class warfare also that I also am down for. Where it loses me a bit, and that's a pretty big lose. But it's still interesting enough that it made it this high on the list, is it's really verbose for a comic. Like, you get a big-ass info dump at the beginning, and then you also get, like, a lot of verbiage on every page. Like, it's a dialogue-heavy book. Like, they're not doing a lot of letting the art tell the story. It's mostly the words telling the story, and then every once in a while it's punctuated by a bit of, like, pretty fantastic artwork and stuff. It gets better by the end of the book, but even by the, like, closer to the end, there's still a lot of dialogue. But I like the setup. I like the premise. I will check out issue number 2. It's got a clever enough kind of snarky AI in here that I'm down for. And, yeah, it's one of the better ones this week. It's not the best one this week, but it's one of the better ones. So, there you go. Know your station. And last and not least, and if you've ever watched my channel in the past, 7 months, this should not surprise you. Because I think every month this book has come out, it's either been the top book or in the top 2. And this one sticks the landing, and it's my favorite book of 2023, without question. It is Do A Powerbomb, and this is the last issue, issue number 7. Without spoiling it, this issue wraps everything up, as the last issue should, and it does it very effectively. And it has big, bombastic fight scenes. It's got the Daniel Warren Johnson-isms. It's got the squiggly inkliness. It's got the cheesy, over-the-top, like, how the fuck is this going to work? And then it's also got, like, some really great, just fun moments. And then he marries this with, like, this poignancy and this story that should not work and should not make you feel feelings, but it does. It takes pro wrestling in an underworld dimension, and where these characters are fighting to bring a woman back from the dead, and makes it one of the most, like, heartfelt books of the year. It sounds ridiculous, and it's a ridiculous premise, and I think Daniel Johnson did that on purpose to, like, say, like, oh, can I make a book that sounds that nuts and make people actually have feelings for it? And the answer is yes. He's done that before. Like, Murder Falcon was a sort of similar, like, a similar idea, I believe, or similar, like, sensibility. He's got these, like love, I think, of marrying these two things that shouldn't work together. In that case, it's like heavy metal and, like, finding oneself in loss. In this case, it's pro wrestling in the netherworld and loss. So, the loss thing, I think, is going to be the sort of, and coming to grips with that is going to be kind of the theme that carries these things forward. But unlike Do A Powerbomb, I think this one wrapped up very well. Unlike Murder Falcon, I think this one was paced a lot better. I liked Murder Falcon a lot, but this one was a tight 7 issues. I think you needed all 7 issues to get it done, but I think it was paced very well, and I think it wrapped it up without stretching it out. I think a younger, less experienced DWJ would have, like, had this go for, like, 2 or 3 more issues unnecessarily, and I don't think that's the case here. I think it could have maybe used 1 or 2 pages more in here, maybe, but that's really nitpicking. And yeah, it without spoiling it, it does everything you should do in a last issue. It finishes the story. It leaves you with a satisfaction or, like, a sense of finality and, like, completion, and it does it in a great manner. So definitely my book of the year. Do A Powerbomb, issue number 7. Let me know if you've read it. Let me know if you have any other books you like this year. I'm trying to put together a top list of this year, and I'm really struggling. After that, I'm going to have to probably go back and watch my own videos. But, like, honestly, nothing's really standing out to me as, like, oh, that was great, which means I guess it's kind of a shitty-ass year for comics, or a mediocre year for comics, or I just wasn't reading the right stuff, but whatever. All right, don't be a dick even if you record everything twice. I'll see you later.